Tasmania is an island of wild and beautiful natural places. There are many ways to explore them. One popular method is at the wheel of a four-wheel drive or in the saddle of a trail bike or quad bike. There are special areas set aside for off-road enthusiasts. They include Sawback Range to historic Adamsfield, the East Coast's Perrin Dunes, the magnificent Wellington Range, and Tasmania's wild and rugged West Coast, the Pillins Track across the spectacular Central Plateau. Land managers such as Parks and Wildlife, Forestry Tasmania and local government authorities have made places like these available for recreational off-road driving and riding. There are challenging tracks to explore, remote beaches to visit, spectacular scenery to admire. That's all positive. Tasmania is big enough for everyone to find a place where they can enjoy their preferred style of recreation. But there's a downside. When off-road vehicles are used in the wrong places, they can cause severe damage to the natural and cultural values of sensitive locations. This video looks at the kinds of people who like to go off-road, the types of vehicles they use, and the experiences they're looking for. Then we'll consider some of the problems that inappropriate use of off-road vehicles can cause. There are four main user groups in Tasmania. There are kids, mostly boys between 12 and 17, on trail bikes and quad bikes. Usually their bikes aren't registered and the riders are probably unlicensed. They generally look for places to ride that are close to home, such as bushland or coastal reserves on the edge of cities and towns. An older group are the adventurer discoverers. These people use a variety of vehicle types, trail bikes, quad bikes and four-wheel drives. And they appreciate the bush environment and they love the adventure of getting there. In most cases, they stick to the areas where off-roading is permitted. A third group are the thrill seekers. Their high-performance vehicles include bikes, quads, four-wheel drives and custom-built off-road buggies. Their main interest is the challenge and fun of dirty driving. They use permitted areas but often target unlawful destinations as well. The fourth group are the resource collectors, people who go off-road for fishing, diving, collecting firewood or fossicking for gems and minerals. In many cases, they've been going to the same favourite areas for a long time. But as Tasmania's land management strategies have changed, many locations have become off-limits. There are four problem issues associated with off-road driving, whether it's in legal or unlawful locations. The first and major issue is environmental damage. Whether it's kids on trail bikes or well-heeled adventurers in top-of-the-range four-wheel drives, off-roading always tends to create an expanding network of tracks. That's part of the appeal, to go where no other driver or rider has been. But when the environment is sensitive, or when there are nature conservation issues, or when a location has special cultural values, then off-road vehicles used the wrong way can really have an impact. Look at this. It's an Aboriginal midden on the west coast, probably thousands of years old, destroyed by off-road vehicles. And this, it was once a low-lying coastal heathland, a refuge for rare plants. The peat that has been churned into mud took hundreds of years to form. Or this, when tyres cut through the vegetation that protected this dune, it only took a couple of storms to whip the sand away. Or this, four-wheel drive tracks can quickly become new watercourses, just waiting to be scoured out deeply in the first decent rain. Fire and vandalism are two more problems associated with unrestricted off-roading. Plant diseases such as the root rot fungus Phytophthora is very easily spread on tyres and muddy vehicles. Where do cats fit into the picture? They use the tracks that fan out into urban fringe bushland as hunting trails to target vulnerable native wildlife. Birds that nest on the fringe of dunes in sand burrows and among the wrack above high tide lines are helpless when vehicles roll over their habitat. There are legal and social issues too. Much of the off-roading activity in Tasmania is unlawful. Land managers are often placed in the difficult position of having to enforce unpopular regulations. Risk management is also an issue. In the course of doing their job, land management personnel may be exposed to dangerous situations. Then there's the cost to the community of vandalism, fire, accidents and rescues in remote locations. Non-motorised users of natural areas also often have problems with off-roaders. If you're enjoying a walk in the bush or some quiet beach fishing, you probably don't want to have it spoiled by noisy and speeding vehicles. What's the solution? Land managers have set aside locations where the responsible use of off-road vehicles is permitted, in fact is encouraged. If you like to take a trail bike, quad bike or four-wheel drive off-road, you can do your bit to avoid making the problems any worse. As an individual, you can start with a practical and positive approach. Find out where you can enjoy your activity safely and legally. Stick to permitted areas and use the tracks that are there, don't make new ones. Consider joining an off-road club and benefit from the experience of other riders and drivers. Follow the guidelines in the Parks and Wildlife booklet, Cruising Without Bruising. Support the land managers, the Parks and Wildlife rangers, council officers and forestry workers who have a job to do, patrolling and looking after the land they're responsible for managing. Respect the bush and the beach so that you and others can keep enjoying Tasmania's wonderful environment in years to come.